my channel. My name is Haley, and in this video we are going to be flipping some thrift store furniture and hopefully selling it for a profit. I've been doing this as a business for the last 3-ish years, and I actually have a business page. I'll link it down below if you want to check out any of the other things that I sell, but I primarily sell my furniture through either my antique booth or through Facebook Marketplace. And today I'm going to be showing you not only my process for how I flip things, but I'm also going to show you what a good contender for a thrifted product would be. And then I'm also going to show you my process on how I list things on Facebook Marketplace so that hopefully you can do this as well. So today we're going to be doing 3 different things that would most likely fit in the back of a small car, so you do not need to have a truck in order to do this as a side hustle. And those are going to be 2 separate different side tables, each with different functions and shapes so that I can show you the difference in how I'm going to flip those. And then also a dining room chair that would double as an accent chair in a smaller space like an apartment. I'm really excited, so let's go ahead and get started. I often go for chairs when I'm flipping things in a quick manner. They're just a lot easier to flip than like a coffee table, and they can sell for about $75 to $100 depending on the quality. In this case, the detailing was so beautiful. It was carved, and while this leg right here was a little bit wobbly, it was attached with a nut and bolt system, so all I had to do was tighten it underneath. Now if this was attached with pegs, like a lot of older chairs are, then I would have passed it up because those are kind of harder to fix. And see, there was a little bit of surface damage, and so I could have restained it, but instead I wanted to go for a farmhouse kind of French country vibe. So instead I'm going to paint it with a whitewash type of technique. So the first thing I'm doing is covering the seat because I did not want to take sawdust out of there with just some old Walmart bags, just to make sure that no dust gets inside. And then I'm going to be sanding it so that the varnish or the polyurethane, whatever top coat they used on this, is a little bit rough, which creates something for the paint to adhere to. If I did not do this step, then the paint would probably peel right off, and so the prep work is absolutely crucial in this case. If you are completely new to furniture flipping, then you might not already know this, so bear with me if you do know this already, but some people might not. When it comes to sandpaper, the lower the number, the thicker the grit. So if I went for a 40 grit sandpaper, it would leave really deep scratches, which is not what we want. We just want something to sort of rough up that top coat to create surface tension for the paint to adhere to. So I am in this case using a 220 grit, but I think a 180 would work as well. And so once I was done with that, I am taking a dry paper towel and just dusting off most of that sawdust. And once I'm done with that, we're going to take a degreaser because this chair was a little bit gunky. But when you take a cleaner, always spot test in a small inconspicuous space, because I have completely ruined projects before because I didn't realize that maybe the original finish was a wax and I used something that basically ate away the wax, and then I had to strip the whole thing. So be sure to spot test. In this case, I'm taking the LA's Totally Awesome multi-purpose degreaser. I think I got it at the dollar store, and it's amazing. It works really well, but it's also quite gentle. Now that it is all clean and the cleaner has dried, I am going to paint it. So I don't want to completely cover up this finish because I do like the finish, and this orangey wood is kind of coming back. So I'm taking my favorite color ever, and that is Swiss Coffee by Dunn Edwards. It's just the most creamy white color without pulling too yellow, and it's also not a cool white, which is something I definitely don't want because the upholstery has some white veining through it. It would look so dirty if I had taken a cool white color, because next to that warm white on the seat would just look really yellowy and dirty. So because I'm doing such a thin layer of this creamier white and then sanding it all off to reveal some of the orangey wood underneath, it's not going to make the undertones of that creamy white seat look dirty. It's actually going to complement it really well while also providing a more fresh and unique look to the wood. When doing this super distress technique, it's actually better to have an uneven, thinner in some areas, a little bit thicker in others type of paint job. Now typically you would not want that. You would want it to be as even and smooth as possible, and then you would do several layers to make sure that the paint is completely even and there's not any areas where the wood is showing through. But in this case, we want it to look weathered and we don't want it to look matchy on all sides. And so that is why the paint job is a little bit splotchy, and if I were to leave it like this, it would look absolutely horrible. So here I am going to take my sandpaper, and as you saw earlier, it is an 80 grit. I did actually end up grabbing, or this is 180, and then I did end up grabbing an 80 grit as well, just to really vary the scale of scratchiness. And I'm just sanding the crap out of it. And this part, there is no rhyme or reason, and in fact, the more random, the better. But you do want to make sure it's as balanced as you can get it. You don't want, half of your project to be super distressed and the other half to be not distressed at all. You want it to be cohesive, but the paint sometimes tells you where it's going to sand off. So I just kind of sand the whole thing, and some areas come off a little bit better than others. Some areas go deep into the natural blonde wood finish a little bit better than others, like right here on the edge. And so just be aware that when you do this technique, it's never going to be perfect, and that's actually a good thing. For this next project, we're going to use a similar look, but not the same technique. So this one is actually a completely different technique, and it's so much easier. So if you're looking for that shabby look, but you don't want to use sandpaper, then this is the way for you. So here is what this looked like before, and I only paid $20 for this at Goodwill. It's solid wood, and I'm pretty sure it's vintage just because of the way that it's constructed. And as you can see, there are a few scratches and a little bit of wear on the top coat that was used on this, but I loved the shape and I loved the legs. They look like they're carved, and so I just wanted to lightly cover this in the places that are kind of messed up while still keeping the original finish. So I'm going to be using a dry brushing technique. But before I can do that, like I said earlier, the prep work is so important. So I'm removing this sticker, and then I'm just taking a very gentle all-purpose cleaner, and my dogs are barking. I'm cleaning it off with that cleaner and some paper towels. So now I am taking a very fine grit sandpaper, and I believe this is a 220, and I'm just sanding the areas where that varnish has kind of peeled off a little bit, just to make sure that it's a little bit more smooth and not so much of a crater that's there whenever I go to put the paint on top, because when I cover it up with paint, you'll still be able to see those scratches. And so I'm just sanding them as smooth as I possibly can without taking off the stain that's underneath that top coat. When I was done sanding, I took my damp paper towel from earlier and just kind of wiped off that dust, and now I'm taking the tiniest bit on the same paintbrush as earlier of that Dunn Edwards Swiss Coffee paint, just the tiniest bit. You want your brush to be mostly dry, and I'm very lightly applying it on top of my surface. With this technique, you want to do really long strokes, or else you'll be able to see where you let up with the brush, and it's not the cutest look. And so try to keep long strokes following the grain. If you go against the grain, it just doesn't look right. I wanted to add a little bit more dimension and depth, so I'm taking a charcoal gray in a sample paint that I got. I didn't actually like the formula, and so I'm not even going to tell you what paint that is, but just any charcoal gray or gray color would work. And I'm using the same technique and just kind of randomly and very lightly brushing that on top. Sometimes the best thrifted projects are actually not projects at all, and that was true for this little piece. At first, I planned on painting it because I didn't know what the wood was and I didn't know anything about it until I got it home and I got to see the back. And as you can see, there's some issues on it, and that's why I wanted to paint it initially, because some of that varnish and some of the sides are really dinged up. However, I learned that it's actually solid cherry wood, and in the current condition on eBay, someone else was selling one for about $400, and so I figured it would actually bring the value down to paint it. Now, I could have totally repaired the damage, sanded the spots, or completely restained the entire thing, but that would have taken me hours and hours of my own time and quite a bit of money in supplies, and I would only be able to sell it for about $150 to $200 in brand new condition in my local area. But I can actually clean it off, stage it, and sell it for $100 or $110, which is what I listed it for, without doing anything to it. So in that case, it's actually a lot smarter, and then whoever buys it can put their work into it and still get a great deal. I am going to create a little staging center in my bedroom, so I am moving this full-length mirror, and then I'm going to hang a curtain above my door to kind of make it look like there's a window there. To hang the curtain, I am literally just kind of folding it over the door and then closing the door, and it worked perfectly well, and it stayed up the whole entire time. The reason that I chose this spot is because right behind where my camera is sitting, there's a window, which means that this spot gets great natural light, and it is also separate from all of my million dogs, so this is like the perfect spot. Also, can we take a moment to admire my bedspread? It has dogs on it, and I just think that is so cute. I mean, it's really tacky and also cheesy, but whatever, it's fine. Life is short. Have dogs on your bedspread. And this light switch is kind of ugly, so I'm just taking this really lightweight hat and hanging it on top. And now I am going to set up the cherry nightstand. Whenever I sell something on the internet, I always stage it. It doesn't matter what it is. So in this case, this is a bedside table, and so I'm putting some very cozy 50s to 60s era items that create a bedside table ambiance, but I'm also trying not to distract from the main piece. These little staging items are there to accessorize. Think of it as a little piece of jewelry, not the main event. So I have taken a lamp, a little vintage brass clock, a candle, some vintage brass swans, and some Reader's Digest books that are all in this peach, gold, and brown color palette. And I just feel like they really complemented the piece that I'm trying to sell. This is what the final photo ended up looking like, and I'm hoping that this sells this piece. Another way to think about staging is that you're telling a story. So in this case, we want to create a very cozy, kind of feminine, countryside, farmhouse, like French farmhouse vibe. And I want the buyer to look at that photo and kind of subconsciously go to this very cozy place, because that is what sells. And so I am placing these two items together so that they can complement each other in the photos for each listing. And now I'm taking some very cute coffee table books that are in the same color palette and a little teapot, and then this is from Target with a Reader's Digest book, and then just a little milk bottle with some greenery and a kind of boho candle holder, and boom, the look is complete. I think that it all goes together very well. It's cohesive, and my accessories are not distracting. They're accessorizing. Okay, so now let's move on to the actual listings themselves. I always type up my description ahead of time in my notes, and I measured it and put my measurements in, and then a very simple description: vintage farmhouse / rustic wood 2-tier side table, white and gray washed, in quotes because I didn't use a washing technique, but it has that look. And then the price, I'm asking $120, and then OBO means or best offer. Need gone ASAP, so make an offer. But this kind of encourages and creates this demand, like, oh no, I have to rush to buy this because she needs it gone soon and somebody else might make an offer. So by adding that, even if you don't need it gone ASAP, it creates this demand that otherwise wouldn't be there. And then I'm putting my pickup near blank and blank, or I will deliver it within 15 miles of my cross streets for $10. And then I'm just saying that the accessories are not included, just in case there's any confusion there. I always enhance my first photo, but that's it. Don't edit the other photos, because you don't want somebody misinterpreting the colors or the tones of an item, and you don't want to mislead anyone either, because that can leave you with bad reviews. So I'm opening Photoshop Lightroom. It's a free app, and then I have by Lisa Homsey these presets, and so I'm using Tulum, but you don't have to use a preset, and there's like a million tutorials on YouTube for how to edit photos, and that is what that ended up looking like. I used that on all three first images for all three listings. So once I saved that to my camera roll, I went to Facebook Marketplace and opened that photo up, and then also imported all of my other images. And you will see that the other images are any close-ups of any damage, so that I'm not misleading anyone. It's showing the wear, it's showing the type of wash that's on it, the color scheme, so that when somebody comes to pick it up, they can't say, oh, that's not what I thought I was buying. It's very clear what they are purchasing. When adding the condition, be sure that you're honest. So in this case, it's used good. It's not like new. You know, it's vintage. It's not going to be like new. And now I am just copy and pasting that description that I had already made. And then for the tags, you can add any types of descriptors that you think would pop up. So for example, vintage, farmhouse, rustic, cottage, wood side table, solid wood, like those are all tags that you can use, and the more tags the better. So you want to try to get as close to the limit, which is 20, as possible, because that's increasing the likelihood that your listing will be found by buyers. So that is it for this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you learned some new painting techniques or how to improve your listings or your photos. If you would like to see a video on how I come up with the pricing and how to tailor your pricing to your specific area, then be sure to comment down below and let me know that you'd like to see that. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can be notified whenever I post, and follow me on Instagrams for some behind the scene footage, and I will see you guys next week. Bye. Let's talk about why I think this chair is a good contender for a furniture flip. The chair itself is in really good condition. The construction is very sound, and while this leg over here is a little bit wobbly, hello, can I help you? Sir, I'm a little busy. Get out of here. Okay, shoe flies. Shoe. Get out of here. Shoe flies. Thank you. Adios.